I trust everyone's having a good day so far. The Devo I have prepared, I've entitled, So What Really Matters to You? What really matters to God? I hope over the next few minutes it'll make us think and that we'll find what we have to say and visit with one another about this morning helpful. So let's start with some questions. Questions for all of us. What matters to you? What's important to you? What's significant to you? Where do you find meaning? How do you invest your personal capital? Things like your time and energy and money. I want to read for you a brief paper. This paper is entitled The Paradox of Life. The paradox of our time and history is that we have taller buildings but shorter tempers. We have wider freeways but narrower viewpoints. We spend more, but we have less. We buy more, but we enjoy less. We have bigger houses, yet smaller families. More conveniences, but less time. We have more degrees, but less sense. More knowledge, but less judgment. There are more experts out there, yet we have more problems. There's more medicine, but there's less wellness. So what really matters? We spend too recklessly. We laugh too little. We drive too fast. We get too angry. We stay up too late. We get too tired. We read too little. We watch TV too much. And we pray too seldom. We've multiplied our possessions, but we've reduced our values. We talk too much. We love too seldom. We hate too often. We've learned how to make a living, but we haven't learned yet how to make a life. We've added years to our life. We haven't added life to our years. So what really matters? We've been all the way to the moon and back, but we have trouble crossing the street to talk to a neighbor. We've conquered outer space, but not inner space. We've done larger things, but not necessarily better things. We've cleaned up the air, but we've polluted the soul. We've conquered the atom, but not prejudice. We text more, we post more, but we learn less. We plan more, but we accomplish less. We've learned to rush, but we haven't learned to wait. So what really matters? We build more computers to hold more information, to produce more words, more files, more documents, more spreadsheets than ever before, but we communicate less and less and less. These are the times of fast food and slow digestion, big men and small character. These are the time of quick trips, shallow relationships, disposable diapers, steep profits. So what really matters? It's a time when there is much in the showroom window, but not a whole lot in the stockroom. A time when technology can bring this letter to you, and a time when you can choose to either listen to the insights that it provides or simply hit delete. So, what really matters to you? What really matters to God? Now, this letter that describes the paradox of our time rings hollow, it rings empty, it rings pointless, it rings futile. It paints a picture of disappointment. Solomon addressed these very things some 3,000 years ago in his sermon that's entitled Ecclesiastes. Now, while the tone of Ecclesiastes is admittedly and widely accepted as being pretty negative and pessimistic, he was not trying to destroy hope. Rather, Solomon directs our hope in the only one who can truly fulfill our hope and give life meaning, and that's God. In fact, right at the end of his sermon, Solomon tells us, that's the whole story. Here's now my conclusion. Fear God and obey his commands. This is everyone's duty. So what really matters to God? Well, I've come up with a few items for us to think about. First, what really matters to God? I'd say trust. Psalm 44, verses 6 and 7 tells us, I do not trust my bow. I do not count on my sword to save me. You, God, are the one who gives us victory over our enemies. You, God, disgrace those who hate us. So, where do you place your trust? Secondly, think about courage. Luke chapter 14, verses 1 through 6. One Sabbath day, Jesus went to eat dinner in the home of a leader of the Pharisees, and the people were watching him closely. There was a man there whose arms and legs were swollen. Jesus asked the Pharisees and the experts in religious law, is it permitted in the law to heal people on the Sabbath day or not? And when they refused to answer, Jesus touched the sick man, and he healed him, and he sent him away. Then he turned to them and he said, which of you doesn't work on the Sabbath? If your cow falls into a pit, don't you rush to get him out? And again, they couldn't answer. Nelson Mandela stated that courage is not the absence of fear. Rather, courage is triumph over fear. Jesus was not afraid of confrontation with the Pharisees. Jesus had courage. What gives you courage? Thirdly, consider compassion. Mark chapter 6, verse 34. Jesus saw the huge crowd as he stepped from a boat, and he had compassion on them because they were like sheep without a shepherd. Wouldn't you agree that supremely Jesus showed compassion by going to his death on a cross for you and me? Do you show compassion? Fourthly, generosity. Deuteronomy 15, verse 10. Give generously to the poor, not grudgingly, for the Lord your God will bless you in everything that you do. We're not to be hard-hearted, tight-fisted when we see those in need. We are to give. Are you generous? So what truly matters? Showing trust, having courage, being compassionate, living generously. I think those are a pretty good start. But here you see my pragmatism coming out. What's most important? It's easy. Love. Love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all of your soul, and with all of your mind, and with all of your strength. What's the second most important? Love your neighbor as yourself. First and foremost, do you love God? Do you love others? Trust, courage, compassion, generosity, love. These are what matter. These are what's important. So what really matters to you? If it's something other than trust, courage, compassion, generosity, and love, we may be living in a paradox that ultimately is meaningless. Rather, when we live in trust, courage, compassion, generosity, and love, there is no equivocation. There is no paradox. When we live in trust and courage and compassion and generosity and love, therefore we find meaning. That's what matters. Thanks for listening. Blessings to you, and have a great rest of the day.